Hi, my name is Warren Samuels, and I would like to invite you to join me on what will be a series of exciting safaris to photograph wildlife and experience a wilderness adventure like no other in one of Africa's greatest wildlife arenas, the Masai Mara. Hi Paul, get ready. Female's up. She's going to prompt the male into mating. Okay, there he's. That's great. That's wonderful. Man. That's fantastic. Got some nice light on his face there. Got a nice balance of light and shadow on his face. It's brilliant. Yeah, just get a sense of depth there. It's brilliant. Looking up, the male looking around there. How full their bellies are. Look at his belly. My goodness, he can hardly walk. It's like he's eaten half the zebra on his own. Right, he looks this way again. Stand by. Are you happy with your settings, Paul?
Just nudge the ISO down.
Yeah.
Because he's a little bit bright.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, go. That's the perfect one. Looking over his right shoulder there. Beautiful.
Moving towards the hill.
Yeah, what's your priorities, eh?
Yeah. Just saying you knew.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking.
Yeah, that works really well.
It does, yeah.
Just be careful that you're not using it when you're doing it. Just be careful that you're at 5.6. Watch out for the focusing, especially the close-up shots of the lion's head.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it, make sure your focus point's on the eye.
Yeah.
The eye's in focus.
Yeah. And switching the points.
Yeah.
Between the eyes.
Because so often people make that mistake where they focus and the focus is on the nose and the eyes are out of focus. Particularly if you're closer to the animal, you know, you've got your full frame of the animal's head, and a little bit further away you've got more depth, but when you're right up close like that, you've got a very shallow, very narrow depth of field. Okay. The eyes is what's critical. You've got to get those in focus. This is a musk bull. You can see he's streaming from his temporal glands here. So he's a big bull, probably 35, 40 years old, and he's in full must. So he's just oozing testosterone at the moment. So he's probably approaching this herd behind us. There might be a female that's an estrus that he's interested in. Young bull coming in behind there. This he's putting his trunk up. He's scratching his ear. That's nice. Just amazing how dexterous those trunks are. Yeah. Just use it for everything. Scratching their ears, drinking water, breaking branches for feeding, or picking up fruits off the ground.
Multi-use, isn't it?
Yeah. He's got a lovely set of tusks. He really is. Probably the biggest tusker I've seen here in the Mara.
Really?
Absolutely amazing, yeah.
Nice side by side.
Yeah, she's putting her trunk on the tip of his tusk there, just fondling the tip of his tusk. Oh, that's cool. It's really lovely that. Particularly if elephants have been in the water and their skin turns that very black colour. Yeah. If you're doing a full frame of them, your camera light meter can be easily fooled. And alright, so your camera light meter is designed to pick up the 18% grey. Alright, it'll read the 80% grey and it'll give you a reading to what your exposure should be. Now the problem with elephants is it's very dark, so extreme lighting conditions the camera can't handle it. So if it's dark skin of elephants or if it's white feathers of an egret, it really struggles. Yeah. So if it's a dark skin of an elephant and you're full frame and you haven't got it, if you're spot metering or even if you're evaluative metering, but the whole frame is just dark skin, your light meter is going to overexpose, is going to compensate. So you need to compensate by actually underexposing to stop that happening, and vice versa if it was the an egret, the feathers of an egret, yeah, it's going to underexpose. So you actually need to overexpose to compensate.
Okay.
So if you ever had the chance of doing polar bears, same sort of thing. Polar bears on the ice,
Yeah.
it's going to be underexposing. So you actually need to.
expose the animal correctly.
It's using the 7200 here, but we were at max focal length. So I'm going to just keep cropping a bit. Let's just have a closer look at him. Okay, so we're getting the light on him there, which is really nice. A nice sort of balance. Obviously, the tricky thing here is you see all the grass in the foreground. So even on a single focus point, which I had him on, and I had the focus point set up on the right-hand side of the screen, so I could have him looking into space here. So you can see he's composed slightly on the right of center, and he's looking into space. There's no point having him on this side looking there, and you've got this big area here which is not being used. So he's looking into space, so I put him on the focus point there. But the problem is the focus point hits one of the grass stems and bang, we've lost it off the lion's head. You know, we've here, which works nicely. Again, just a bit of space for him to look into. It's not ideal, we've got a lot of shadow on his face there, which is, can't be helped. And I think he turns a little bit here. We're getting a bit more light on the face, there we go, a bit more light. Sadly, not in the eyes. It would be nice if we'd had a bit of light in the eyes, but there you go. But there's that big wound we were talking about. See that big gash, a claw mark right through the middle of the, between the eyes, the bridge of the nose. Quite nasty, and I think there's another wound here, so he's having a bit of a rumble there. So if I was an artist sketching, a pencil drawing here, you do your outline of your line, and then you would start to put in your shading. And your shading would be all the places that you put your shading in. So under the belly, like in these little areas here where you've got these depressions, put in the shading. And the idea of putting the shading is to make this animal look real on that piece of paper and not flat. And the same thing we're trying to accomplish the same thing on the images too. We're trying to give it a sense of depth, give that kind of help to try and give it that sort of 3D. For a morning game drive, that's pretty good. I mean, what we've accomplished is pretty good. Let's just quickly have a look at the let's go look at the elephants quickly. That we got this morning as well. That'd be quite useful. Nice big bull that we saw this morning, streaming from his temporal glands here. You can see there he's in us. They've got a collar on him because they need to collar these big guys to find out where they go, study their movements. It's very important to understand where they go, which corridors they use, in order to try and protect those corridors, to preserve those corridors, to ensure the safety preservation of these big bulls. And this, as I said, is the biggest tusker I've seen in the Mara. So it's important, and that's the reason why they've got this collar on. It's a collar that transmits to a satellite and then back down to a laptop or a mobile phone. So it's got big tusks. So there we really do get a nice view of those tusks. And then he's sort of looking at his full frontal kind of thing, trying to keep that depth of field nice and shallow. So we don't want to see too much background. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. This is him walking. So as he's now changed slightly, we're getting a little bit more shadow coming on his body. Look at his skin here. All those textures come out. The folds in the skin really show the textures of the elephant skin, and that's why it's so important not to front light elephants. Nice to have a little bit of side light on them, so that all the shadows and the folds of the skin
all those details.
show. After my 26 years of filming wildlife documentaries in the Mara, I realized there was a niche for me to become more involved with safari goers, who I observed time and time again on game drives, missing out on great opportunities to learn more about wildlife behavior and nature photography. The idea behind these trips is not just to take professional photographers out on a safari. It's also to take people who don't know much about photography, if anything at all really, and it's just to give them an opportunity to learn a little bit about photography. A lot of people have been to Governor's Camp, been to the Masai Mara. Some have been here 2, 3 times, 4 times. I want them to come back again and this time experience something really different. I want them to experience not just the wildlife. I want them to enjoy being able to take photographs.